Come on, kids, it's time to roll. Tell everybody that you know. Watch the Good News Wednesday show. Good News Wednesday's finally here. Let's stand up and give a cheer. Watch the boredom disappear, 'cause Good News Wednesday's here.
And welcome to the Good News Wednesday show, brought to you each week to put a smile on your face and some fun and information and tips to get you through the rest of your week. I'm sure you all have had another challenging week starting up. I'm Karen Donovan, your host of the Good News Wednesday show, and I'm here to relax with you for a few minutes and take our minds off of the imminent matters at hand, stressful matters. Have your cup of tea, coffee, or favorite beverage, and join me as we go into a few topics that I think will be great and give you some insight on how to combat the stress in the rest of your week. First off, we have our famous question of the week. Now, this is a fun question, and it'll get you thinking and get your mind off of your problems. So here is the question. How do you make the number one disappear? Put your thinking cap on. Okay, time's up. How do you make the number one disappear? You know this. Add a G in front of it and it's gone. Okay, that's my corny joke for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, this week we are talking about something super powerful. So let's get to it, shall we? Well, in case you didn't get it, this week's strategies for a happy life is about you got the power. And I'll be playing my corny little intro a few times tonight, so be prepared. You've got the power. Everyone has some power that they can exercise. It's the point of believing in yourself, trusting that you have that power, and then harnessing that power. That's where the rubber meets the road. And a lot of folks, they say that famous saying, if you think you can, you probably can. And if you think you can't, you probably can't. So what about harnessing that power that you have within you, that everyone has within you? It's amazing what we can do as human beings, and what is it that you would like to do? Is it something bigger than yourself? Is it something to help other people? And where you can, what is it that you're looking to do with your power? And I think about a really cool story. A young student by the name of Ryan Hurljack and he was from Canada, and and you've probably heard this story before, maybe it's in the back of your mind somewhere. He was 6 years old. He was in his first grade class, and the teacher challenged everyone to take on some kind of a project, using their power. And one of the projects that was mentioned was the fact that many people in third world countries did not have safe drinking water. And this little kid started thinking about that, thinking about how the water fountain was just 10 feet away from his classroom and he could get clean water anytime he wanted. And he couldn't believe that there were other parts of the world with other kids where they just didn't have clean water. So he decided to take on that project, and he was told that to put a well in Uganda cost $70. So he went home and he told his parents, and they told him that he could do chores and extra things and earn that money. So he did. He did all the chores, that maybe an older child would do: vacuuming, dusting, taking out the trash, all those things at 6 years old. And then he found out he made the $70, and then he found out, well, there was a little mistake, a little math mistake. The actual cost of a well was $2,000. So now what was he going to do? So he went to his parents and he asked his parents if they would help him to speak to people, friends, relatives, neighbors, etc., to see if they would be willing to donate money toward this wells, because he knew he could never earn $2,000 doing extra chores around the house in any immediate future. So he did, and his parents helped him. And what happened? Because of that little step, Ryan's Well Foundation began. And this is back in the late 90s. They built their first well in Uganda. Then there was the second one, and then there was the third one, and then there was the fourth one, and then it was Ryan's Well Foundation. And things just snowballed just because of this little kid's vision. Cool things happened. They built all together now, since the 1990s, they've built over, 1,267 latrines, because, water and safe sanitary practices go together. 1,531 wells, raised well more than a couple $1 million by now, I'm sure. And so Ryan used his power to make a difference. Not only did he make a difference in all of those people's lives in 16 different countries, but one of the little boys that he met in his first visit to Uganda was a little orphan boy by the name of Jimmy, and Ryan's family ended up adopting him and taking him back to the United States. So not only was a lot of people's lives changed, but a little boy's life was changed forever. And a lot of people got some clean drinking water. And Ryan's little 6-year-old idea and using his power was what did it. And he said an interesting thing. He said, that little poem about a ripple and a ripple in a pond. And I looked it up, and I have to leave you with this because this was really cool. This is the actual poem that was written by James Foley. Drop a pebble in the water, just a splash, and it is gone. But there's 100 ripples circling on and on and on. Spreading from the center, flowing on out to the sea. And there is no way of telling where the end is going to be. Do you want to drop a pebble in a pond, in an ocean? Do you want to make some ripples? Do you want to exercise your power? If so, imagine the difference that you could make. And things, they could be little, they could be big. But We need you. The world needs you, and the world needs your power. I told you I was going to play that a few times tonight. I've been thinking about that song all day. Now, talking about power, let's go on to our next topic. So you are thinking of buying or selling a house, and the subject of the power system comes up. You see, I've worked that into my topic here. We're talking about the HVAC power system. Do you know what HVAC stands for? Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Now, this is a very important segment of your home, and it's something that both a buyer and a seller look at when they're either selling or buying a home. Now, a buyer normally has a home inspection done, and in the home inspection, it's done by a general contractor. They're not air conditioning specialists per se. I mean, some of them might be, but they're going to test the AC system. They're going to turn it on, and they're going to check the temperature of the system, what the output is at the vent, and they're going to see if it's cooling. But is this really enough? No, probably not, because there are several other factors involved that you should keep an eye out for as both a seller and a buyer. Number one, if you're a buyer, you want to know what the age of the system is, because that's going to be the first clue as to whether or not this air conditioning system is going to have the power to cool your house for an extended period of time. Generally speaking, you can get the serial number right off of the compressor or the condenser, and each one has to be checked because sometimes they don't match. Generally speaking, they're supposed to. But you can Google it. You can Google the serial number, and then you can find out the age of the unit. It's surprising how many inspectors sometimes make an error on that. Now, if a unit is over 15 years old, that's a good sign that it's probably nearing or at the end of its life. I know I have a system in one of my houses that's past that, and we pray every year over it. Now, once you know the age of the unit, the other thing you want to find out about is you want to find out the sizing of the unit. If it's a newer unit, like under 10 years old or something, then there could still be another problem, and that is that the unit is too small for the square footage of the house. So now, are you going to be able to figure this out? Probably not, but an HVAC specialist will be able to determine this for you. So that is another consideration that you want to make. Now, if you're selling the house and you have an old system, what should you do? Well, if it's working fine and it's cooling fine, and you've had a tune-up, because you want to have a tune-up before you put your house on the market, then in that case, you will be prepared maybe to give some type of a concession if the unit is older, just because it's older, and that the buyer knows that they don't have too many years of life left on it. Now, if on the other hand, you're not going to be selling right away, and you're maybe going to be selling 3-4 years down the road, you might want to consider looking into getting another unit, because you will get to enjoy it for a bit before you sell your house, and then it will be still a newer unit when you go to sell it. So those are considerations that you might want to keep in mind. Now, another thing that you want to think about is the thermostat, because a lot of people look at the ancient thermostats that we all sometimes have on our wall, and they aren't too impressed. So if you can, even with an older system, you can hook up either like a Nest thermostat, which I have, or an Ecobee thermostat. I'm not familiar with those as much, but they say they're good ones too. And tie those into your system so that your buyer will realize that you are very smart because you have your information to connect to your cooling system and your thermostat right on your phone, and they can transfer it to their phone when they buy your house. So those are a few tips about the power of having a good HVAC system. We hope you enjoyed it, and tune in next week for another interesting topic. If you have a question for me for Real Estate Corner, please email me at Karen@homesbydonovan.com, and I may answer your question on our next episode. Okay, you know what time it is. It's time to answer our Monday morning trivia question. If you didn't receive your advanced question in your Monday morning wake-up call, then wake up and send me an email at Karen@homesbydonovan.com, and I'll be glad to send you a free copy of our newsletter, which comes to you every Monday morning and gives you some tips and tricks and inspiration to get your week started, including the question that now we are going to answer. And this week's question has to do with a very, very important topic. That's right, folks. I have carried the theme throughout the show tonight. You've got the power, and which type of power is the cheapest source of power today? You should know this. Is it A, solar, B, nuclear, C, gas, or D, wind? Okay. Now that's a bit of a trick question because in actuality, there could be two correct answers in there. Now, we know it's definitely not gas. If you've been alive in the last 3 months, you know that gas is not the most economical form of power these days when you go to the pump. Now, nuclear is a question because nuclear power is very inexpensive once it's running. But the trouble is it's utilizing getting the system up to speed because the power plant has to be built. So in actuality, as much as I thought, well, maybe nuclear is correct, it is not correct. Now, right now, according to the IRENA report, they have found, and I don't know who the IRENA report is, and we may want to look it up to verify this. They have found that solar and onshore wind are the cheapest energy sources. Wind turbine prices, if you want to know, those inquiring minds who want to know, wind turbine prices have an average cost of 0.06 per kilowatt hour, and at times drop to 0.04 of kilowatt hour. And then we know a lot of people are utilizing solar these days. And some people, I mean, I've even had people tell me that the power company is paying them. So wind and solar, if you answered either A or D, you are very intelligent and you've got the power. We hope that you use your power for good and that you utilize it for something that is important to you, brings you joy, and is true to your values. Please stay safe. And until next time, make it a great week. Bye-bye.
It's the Good News Wednesday show. Come on, kids, it's time to roll. Tell everybody that you know. Watch the Good News Wednesday show. Good News Wednesday's finally here. Let's stand